And then you have your baby and you just are completely forgotten. I mean, everyone's like, how's the baby? How are they sleeping? How are they eating? Nobody looks at you. Nobody asks about you. And I think it's even more visible perhaps when you're in a top position. It's this like, you need to go to work and drop the mother at the door. And the idea was, yeah, kind of started as maybe a little book called Is This Normal? And it would be given to all women at birth. And it would be like, this is what's going to happen. This is what you can expect. And just like, don't freak out.
Erica, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
How are you?
Good.
Good to have you. Thanks for being here. I usually start by asking a weird question, which is what went wrong in your life so that you decided to start your own company and especially here in Switzerland,
Yeah.
What happened and how did it come to life in a way? What's the story behind it?
Yeah. I think it is what went wrong in your life, maybe, or kind of more what you observed, I guess. For me, I would say there was really a defining moment 2 years ago, actually. I was at dinner with 3 girlfriends. I had just had my 3rd child, and it was my first girls' night out. And anyway, we were talking and ended up talking about birth, and as women do, maybe, I don't know, got into like the birth stories. And actually really struck me at that dinner, we all had actually 4-year-olds at the time too. And these women were talking about these kind of traumas that they still held on to and were still kind of feeling in their everyday persons and in their parenting. And birth is wild. I think it's this overpowering, crazy thing that happens and that you actually have no control over. You try to take the hypnobirthing course and you do the pressure points and everything with your husband and you have a plan, and then it's just like everything goes to shit. And it's actually kind of because of that I think it is really cool to prepare, because then you go into it and you're like, okay, if this goes wrong, I will pivot. And I kind of left that dinner and I was like, wow, birth is universal. Everybody on this planet is here because we were born. And information is power, and we often don't have this information about birth, although it's so simple in a way. And at that time, I was the medical director of a communications agency. My job was literally to translate scientific information into laypersons.
That was here
in Geneva,
Geneva
yeah.
already? Okay.
So it was kind of like, oh, actually, maybe I could talk about birth and make it simple. And the idea was, yeah, kind of started as maybe a little book called Is This Normal? And it would be given to all women at birth. And it would be like, this is what's going to happen. This is what you can expect. And just like, don't freak out in a way. Because...
But do you feel that is sort of information is missing, or is it not distributed in the right way, or is it non-existent, or...
Yeah, I think, you're pregnant, everyone's looking at you, you go to the doctor every 2 weeks, every month, everyone's touching your belly, everyone's like all eyes on you, and then you have your baby and you just are completely forgotten. Everyone's like, how's the baby? How are they sleeping? How are they eating? Nobody looks at you, nobody asks about you. You go to your doctor at 6 weeks, at 8 weeks. What are you doing those first 6 weeks? You just had a baby exit your body that was there for 10 months. I think it's a crazy time where you were so surrounded and then you just drop off the radar. So a long story to say,
fill that gap at that moment in a way.
I think there is a real need, and it's a huge life transformation. It's the beginning of so much. It's the beginning of parenthood. It's the beginning of a new relationship with your partner. If you already have children, everything changes. And it's like this critical moment where we just leave the woman who was such a part of it alone to manage.
And so you had that idea. You had that dinner. You came home. It's like, oh Jesus, I get to do something with that.
Yeah.
What was the trigger when you said, okay, now it's actually time to start doing something about it and launch the company that we're gonna talk about in a few minutes? But was there a trigger? Was it something slow? I'm always interested in understanding, because people always say, oh, then, this happened. I had the dinner and then I launched the company. But it's always a bit more complicated than that.
Yeah.
It's always like, oh, yeah, but then I met this person or had this or I tried this, but it didn't work. What's sort of the story behind, actually starting it and quitting your job? And did you do both at the same time at the beginning? What did it look like?
Yeah. So yeah, I had this dinner, didn't sleep. And then I do remember vividly the next day I was on a run. I get all my ideas pretty much running or swimming. And I had to stop like 4 times to send a voice note to my friend. And I was like, I have an idea. And she's a doctor. And I was like, we're going to do this. We're going to build this company. And like, we can do so much. And then it wasn't immediate, but the seed was planted. And then it just couldn't get out of my head.
How long was it, more or less, until you actually sort of...
So that was March 2023. And I launched our courses July 2024. So I started building 6 months later.
You were still working while you were building it?
Yeah.
Okay. Would you recommend that? Some people say, oh, you should quit everything and start and then go all in on your project. Some people say, oh no, you should keep both because, at the beginning it's not that you don't have that much to do, but you can sort of manage 2 together.
Yeah.
What's your recommendation?
I think it's really hard. I think it's really personal too. It depends a lot on your resources.
Yeah.
I could actually do my medical director, medical writing job as a freelance, which I still do. So I have some money coming in, which I kind of funnel to the company. So I think that's a great flexibility because it is a huge investment. However, that being said, I know people who have like kept their jobs. And I know personally for me, once you have the idea, you're just like all in and you can't really do your other job.
Your job properly. Yeah.
So I think if you can, then you go all in. You have, even if it's not productive maybe at the beginning, I think your time is so booked and you're...
Yeah, it's always because we were talking to the founder of Coca.
Yeah.
And he worked on the company for 4 years while he had his job. And 4 years seems like a long time.
Yeah.
And from the outside, you don't realize it. It's like, I worked on it for 4 years while I had my job. And at some point I was like, okay, now I can actually leave my job. And because he had kids and he had, you had to support the family and so on. And you're like, okay, well, again, both are fine, whatever, like you said, it's very personal.
Yeah.
But I think it's very interesting to see some people quit and go all in. Others work for years and years on a company on the side, and then it becomes some sort of the main project.
Yeah.
It's a challenge. Okay. So maybe let's just rewind a bit. Can you tell us a bit more about Endu and what you do?
Yeah. So my little idea for the book is this normal kind of transformed into Endu. And you is the woman. It's what I said before. It's the question we should be asking maybe after everything we ask about the baby, but how are you sleeping? Not just how is the baby sleeping, but and you. How is the baby eating and you? And it's really, what I think is missing in this postpartum space. So we offer online courses. We have a team of women's health professionals, again, 100% woman. We don't talk about the baby. We have physical therapists, doula, dietitian, sleep coach. We're really covering the entire emotional, physical, mental well-being. And these video-based courses are really meant to accompany you in those first months where it's hard to get out, where things are universal. I mean, back to that idea, we're all here because birth is the same. It doesn't matter which language you speak or where you live. And the physical healing of it, there's a lot of things like C-section scar care and what you can eat for energy, and when you should get out of bed and how you can start moving again, how you can take care of your body that is, let's say, consistent. Then, of course, there's one-on-one. So we have the in-depth one-on-one. And then just this year, we started working with businesses because we felt this, the women we supported were telling us, oh, yeah, that's great. And then I get back to work and everything kind of...
It's another challenge. It's
goes to shit, yeah. And it's a struggle for HR. And when we looked into this, from the women's optic, I get it. I'm a woman. I'm not in HR, so I don't know as much. But speaking to HR professionals, people want to do well. I mean, I think in every aspect of life, people are good and kind and they want to do their best, but you don't really know how. And it's this like blurred line between professional and personal, like...
Especially if you have a man.
Yeah. should I ask how she's breastfeeding?
Yeah, that's
I
the
mean,
thing, is especially as a man, I think we have no clue. Like,
yeah,
we have no clue on, and maybe it's our fault. Maybe we should learn more about it and be more educated about it. And again, it's maybe our job to do that, as HR managers, whatever. I'm not in HR, but maybe it should be. But I think men have no idea in a way. Like, we don't understand what you go through. We can sort of help you and go
yeah,
and
and
be
it,
and hold your hand and go like, I'm here if you need it. But
yeah,
basically, we can't do much. And I think that's, learning about it, understanding it a bit more deeply might help, men, and in broader terms, HR managers, if they're men, you know, what what can I do to make her transition coming
exactly.
back to work a bit easier? Let's say
Yeah,
not perfect, because it can't be, but like a bit easier, so that if I do this, she'll feel safer, whatever it
yeah.
is. And it's just tiny,
It
like a
is, and it's
person better, and
personal,
yeah.
and it's a dialogue, and when we go into companies, it's not a one size fits all, but we give you a framework of, maybe these phrases should be avoided, or how can you have that open conversation, because maybe some women want a more open relationship and maybe some women don't. But
And
the
just
idea is to,
understanding that
yeah,
coming, because I think, as usually, like you said, we tend to forget. It's like, oh, she had the baby, she had the how do you call that, maternity leave. Now she's back to work.
yeah, no,
Like, it's
back
like some
to,
sort of oh, now it's done. So it's like, oh, it's like 4 weeks, 12 weeks, and then
yeah,
you do now it's fine. Now you can sort of, everything is forgotten. You can come back to work, and well, it's not the case, obviously, but
yeah,
like, just even, I think, understanding what women go through, what they can go through, having like some sort of 3 or 4 things that maybe go in your mind at that time as a man might be useful, and say like, oh, okay, now, sort of I have a clearer picture. It's not that easy. It's not, that could be a challenge. That could be interpreted this way and that way.
yeah,
So it's more about education and about having, yeah, understanding a bit better what you going through, or
yeah,
what women are going through in a way,
yeah.
when they get back.
And that it all translates. I mean, there's what you said, that's the education and kind of the health. This is kind of what's happening. But the real application and where we really see an impact is it's conversation and it's human dialogue and it's soft skills and it's things that are translatable to other aspects of work and professionalism. It's having, you know, emotional regulation and emotional capabilities to know yourself and know how to respond to people and read the room, and these kind of soft skills that can translate at home with your partner or at work with your boss. It's kind of this universal learning.
Yeah, because I think, well, again, I'm not an HR expert, so I don't know. Maybe I'll say something stupid, but I feel like the HR department is trained on, various topics. Like, if this happened, we should do that. If this happened, we should do that. In case of this, we should do that. But not really in that scenario,
Yeah.
Not really in that scenario. In any, like, I feel like there's like thousands of other scenarios where they sort of know what to do. They've been trained on how to react, on how they should
Yeah.
behave, and so on, but not on this one, which is weird.
Yeah, and it is very one HR department shared their like parental leave policy, and it's like A and then B and then 1, 2, 3, and we give this and we can say this, and it's like it's not so procedural, it's human.
Yeah.
And it's a shared experience because maybe the male manager wants to share his experience, but he doesn't want to be weird, or it's like all these things. It's kind of blurred line between professional and personal. That comes up a lot at work.
Yeah. That's okay. That's very, because my wife we just had a second baby. 4 months.
Exciting.
4 months ago.
Yeah.
So yeah, again, what you're saying is for me, it's very interesting, because it's, you sort of see, as the partner, you sort of see, oh, now it's challenging, now I can, but again, I have no clue what she's going through. Like, that's the truth, in a way. Like, I can't even imagine, I can sort of say, oh yeah, it must be hard, but I have no idea. And having more knowledge about all this, because she's sharing stuff, she's, reading stuff, and then she's saying, oh, this and that, and then I go and look into it because I'm interested in it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, okay, really, like, you don't get that if you don't spend time understanding it a bit deeper. And that's in a personal life, and you do
Yeah.
it because it's your partner. But I think as an HR manager, or as someone that employs people, it's also your job to actually take the time to understand a bit more better what's going on, so that you can better help them, through their transition and coming back. And it's also about, if you're being honest, I think it's also about the better the transition when they get back to work, the more efficient they'll be, the happier they'll be, and then you can sort of have a better impact on the company and so on. And I think it goes hand in hand, and it's also about efficiency for sure, but it's about having people that come back to work and that will stay for
I mean,
another
we see
10
it in
years. Like, you don't want
sure.
people, because I think you have stats that says that if usually when a woman gets some of the time they don't get back to work at all, and then sometimes they do, but then they leave after a few months. And I don't think it's just about they leave because they're not happy. It's because it was not the right fit. It wasn't, they were not prepared to actually go back to work. The employer was not prepared to get that woman back to work, and so on.
We see it. It's actually interesting. A lot of people have brought up also the female leadership, and I think it's even more visible perhaps when you're in a top position. It's this you need to go to work and drop the mother at the door, and then you're at home and you try to forget about work. And it's this split that women are constantly trying to live in, and it's impossible, and it's not fair, and it's debilitating to both aspects of your life. And if there's a way that you can be whole at work, and you can be a working mother, and you can have a picture of your kid on the desk. Somebody told me when a male has a picture of his kids, everyone's like, oh, that's cute. And when a woman does, they're like, oh, she's soft, And it's especially in power, because you want to have your reputation. You want to go back to pre-baby and crush it. You know what I mean? But it's oh, okay, but no, I'm thinking about, is my kid sleeping? Are they eating? This is all turning constantly. And it's really, if you can be held in a way at work, there is so much more potential for your future and for the company, and for you to contribute in a meaningful way.
Super interesting. What was your main challenge when you started the company? Because I always have that. I was talking to an entrepreneur years ago, and he said, "Oh, if I knew all the challenges that I would face, I would have never started." Because it was I started because I had no idea. I was like, "Oh, let's try." What was some of the challenges that you faced starting, where you're like, "Oh, Jesus, thanks God I didn't know I would face that challenge. Otherwise I would never have bothered." Do you have any in your mind?
I think it's more global, maybe. It's kind of the constant. It's my mind is never off anymore. And I am, if you ask anybody I know, I can be just in this room and zen and present and focused and thinking of absolutely nothing. And now my brain, it's
that's gone.
The tranquility is
relate.
Oh my God, and the number of reminders I have keeping me alive, and it's just this onslaught of, I could be doing this, I should be doing this, I want to do this. And at 10 p.m. I should redesign my website, and it's okay, no, we need to, turn off the computer and move on to other things. But I think it's channeling that energy and really trying to focus it. That's always been,
and manage it.
And know what I mean, there's nothing you should be doing, and it's hard to know. I don't think anybody knows. You just have to decide, because you only have so much time and energy and money, and it is
But it's a good point. I think people don't realize, once you go on that path, I don't know, some people manage it better, maybe. I'm really bad at it, to be honest. That's why I relate to what you said. For me, it's constantly feeling bad when you're not doing anything, because you have always something to do. So if I don't do anything, it means I'm not trying hard enough, and I'm not, going hard enough, and I'm not investing all my energy and potential into making that company great. And it's exhausting after a while. And I think it's very hard. Some people are really good at it. No, I've done enough. It's good now.
No, there's no vacation. There's no I was on the train to Zermatt for vacation, and I was like, oh, I could be surveying women on the train,
exactly.
And I'm just sit down, you know.
But it's hard. But that's hard. It's a challenging thing to go through. Again, some people are good with it. They can sit down and but it's a good point. It's a big challenge, I think, and people don't talk about that much when they go like they talk about hard work. Yeah, sure, but then but you have the sort of positive side of hard work, and then the negative side where you wake up at 2 a.m. and go like, oh, wait, let me just write myself an email with a to-do list for tomorrow morning, which is hard. Which is the good point. Okay, cool. I like I like the point. Where do you see, like, what would be your vision for the company? So you were talking about, you have the B2B side, you have the B2C side with the courses, the videos, the access to the network, and the experts, sorry. That's sort of the base that you have now. If you could imagine sort of the vision for the company, again, I don't like to say 5 years, whatever the time frame is, but like, where do you want to go with that company? What would be the best scenario for you where you're like, oh, we could be doing this and that would be amazing?
Yeah. I mean, my dream is really to have I don't want to say global, that seems kind of crazy, but an impact. I mean, to help to reach as many women as possible. Everything that was built at Anju was built to be scalable and to be accessible. I'm American. It's all in English. And that was done intentionally because I think America is so lacking in this domain. And I think there's also, I'm an expat here, obviously. There's also so many expat women here that are alone. They don't speak French. They go to the doctor, they can barely get by. How do you advocate for yourself? I mean, so the goal was really to try to have this resource that was available for women, no matter where they are, to just help a little bit. I mean, it's not going to replace in-person care or anything like that, but it could be a little bridge to do that. So my dream would be to be like the go-to postpartum program for that extra support, so you don't feel alone or scared.
It's a good mission. That's a good mission. So when did you launch? 2023? No, 2024. You said
the official launch.
Yeah.
The official date.
The official.
Yeah. The company was formed 1 year ago, actually. 2024.
So it's been a year. If you look at that year now and you say, oh, if now I had to start all over again and change something and relaunch a new company or whatever, would you do something differently? Would you have kept your job longer? Would you have raised fund? Whatever it is, would you have changed something, or you would do the same?
I don't know. I don't know if I've reflected that deeply big.
A year goes quite quickly.
It does get fast.
But like, do you have stuff where you go like, you know what? I should have maybe I don't know. It could be anything. Like,
yeah, I think I could have launched sooner. I think I was perfecting. I'm not a perfectionist, but I do like wait to speak, and I am somebody who likes to have all my cards lined up before I go into a meeting. I have my notes. I like to prepare, and I think I prepared. I built everything A to Z, and I could have launched maybe a less perfect, even though saying that scares me, product sooner and built it a little more along the way.
Yeah, I like that. I think it's something that we see a lot. It's something that I don't want to say mistake, because I'm not sure it's a mistake, but we see that a lot where people actually, there was that quote from the Reid Hoffman, from the LinkedIn founder of LinkedIn, who said, if you're not ashamed of your first product, you launch too late. Yeah. And I think it's great, because my brother said that to me one day when I was starting my first, like, company is a big word, but first project. And I was so actually afraid to launch, to be honest, because you work so hard, you believe so hard on something that it's very, it's tough to go to realize that maybe it's not the product that people want, and then you have to go back to the drawing board and try something else and pivot and stuff. Yeah. And people, I think they'd rather be wrong and work on something very, very long and then launch it and then, fail, than to actually start with something that is not perfect, but then people say, oh, fail fast, Yeah. Fail fast, I think you're going to save money, but it's scary, because you go but I'm going to fail because my button was not blue enough. Yeah. And you go but that's not the reason. Yeah. The reason, it's not going to change anything. It's if you have a great product, even if your design is not perfect, your copy is not perfect, whatever it is, you're still gonna have reach. You're still gonna have people that are interested.
Yeah, but I don't think you know that until you have
But you don't,
experience.
exactly, but
And you're
that's the
like,
thing.
I have to have the email
But I say
list ready.
it's something very hard to explain to people, and,
Yeah.
and I've had that conversation so many times where I'm like, start. Yeah, but this is not, who cares? Start. Like, you know,
Yeah.
whatever you want to do, I think there's something you can do now just to see if it's in the right direction, and then sort of
Yeah, pivot.
build it along the way, and then have feedback, and you go like,
Yeah.
oh, but actually you don't need videos, you only want, I don't know, like text, whatever,
Yeah, yeah.
and then you build it and you make it easier. And I think but it's very hard to do.
Yeah.
But it's good to hear it from you, because after a while you go like, it becomes natural when you've done it enough times.
Yeah.
You go like, you know, again, like if you had to do it all over again, you'd be like, oh wait, I'll just try that.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh good, it works. Oh no, it doesn't. Because now you've learned. But like if
Yeah.
you need to tell someone and it's their first time, it's very hard because they usually don't listen. I've rarely had someone that goes like, actually you're right, I'm gonna have a crappy product just to try it out and see what happens. And
Yeah.
people are really like, fuck. And I had a chat with startups from EPFL, and the title of the sort of the speech was "Fuck it, ship it." You know,
Yeah.
like try, like do something, try it, and adjust, and do something.
Yeah.
No one will remember. You're too small. No one cares.
Yeah,
You
and
know,
you're
you
like, your
always
whole
think that
identity
everybody-
is attached.
Yeah,
Everybody's looking at me.
yeah, exactly. You think like once you're gonna get, and that's what happens. It's funny. It's when you look at it, it's like you think that when you press, you know, publish or whatever, everybody's gonna go like,
Yeah.
Erica, what are you doing? But actually,
It's
and
just
it's
my
sad,
mom.
But it's like, no, yeah, and even your mom forgot because she was, you know,
Yeah.
busy doing something else. And that's true. But that's and it's, you think that everybody's gonna look at you, and everybody, but people. And I think it's liberating in a way. Like people
Yeah.
do not give a crap about
Yeah.
what you do. And a few people might comment and say something bad, but who cares? But and even that would be a good sign. Most people don't care.
Yeah.
Most people don't care. So I think it's a good. I think it's a good advice that you can, that you can gospel around and say launch a crappy product first. That's very very interesting. So you mentioned before that obviously you're an expat. You arrived in Switzerland. How long was it? How long have you been here for?
2016, so
2016.
9
Almost
years.
10 years.
Yeah,
Almost 10
yeah,
years,
yeah.
What do you think of launching your company here in Switzerland? Obviously, maybe, I mean, you don't have experience launching a company somewhere else, I think. But do you think is like it would have been easier doing it if you were doing it in the US? Again, it's hypothesis because you don't know, but what do you think? Like, do you think it's harder to launch here? It's easier because it's smaller? What's your take on the difference between Switzerland and the US? Or somewhere else?
Yeah. I mean, like you said, I think Switzerland's obviously small. It's crazy the kind of village effect I think that you feel even when you start networking and meeting people. It quickly is like, oh yeah, my girlfriend works there, or oh yeah, my neighbor has a kid that goes to that school, you know. So it's cool in that way. I do think like I said, my product, my goal is to reach kind of American women, which is hard since I'm here. So I'm trying to adapt to that, but I purposely didn't build the program in French. I thought about it and I was like, here though, we are a lot better supported maybe in postpartum. So I think in the sector, we have nice maternity leaves. We have midwives visiting us at home. We have long hospital stays. We have insurance reimbursing alternative medicine. So the goal kind of became to bring that Swiss holistic experience, if we could, elsewhere. So I think it's taking the best of both worlds. I mean, the American, I don't know, hard work pays, you know, all these American kind of qualities maybe, and then also the Swiss mentality of people and connections and building something really in communication with others. So I'm trying to bridge that gap here and there.
Yeah, it's always, I mean, it's always tricky. I don't know. I sort of started a company in China. It was more of a project. And it was tough because everything was I mean, it's like, what, Jesus, 15 or 20 years ago, I don't know. So I don't have that much experience in launching companies in other places than Switzerland, but it's, again, we're always, when you're in a place and you're starting a company here, you're always sort of, the grass is greener somewhere else.
Yeah.
It would be so much easier if I were in the US.
Yeah.
And the older I get, there's like, look, we also have a lot of good things here. Sure, it's more challenging for a lot of stuff, but I think it's still a very good place to start something, try something. Like you said, you have a small sort of network of people. Word of mouth can go pretty quickly.
Yeah. And we have a hub here. I mean, there's so many different people and types of business sectors intersecting here.
Yeah.
So it's a really unique place too.
Yeah, no, that's why. Okay, interesting. Last question for you that we always ask is, if you had the chance to have dinner with, I want to say an entrepreneur, but it could be anyone else if you have someone else in mind. But an entrepreneur where you could actually go and talk to him and say, look, this is my business. What should I do? How do you see it? Like, get advice from, who would that be? You have one dinner, and you can pick someone whoever you want. Who would that be, and what would you ask him?
Okay. Yeah, I think I'm not enough of a business person to know what I would ask a business person. I think it would be more to me to learn about the mindset and about this kind of ability to, like we said, I think, be a chameleon and adapt and grow and evolve. I think the business stuff I need to learn, and I'm working on it, but I also think it's a lot just about like that evolution capability, maybe.
Okay.
So my person, I think, would be Taylor Swift.
Ooh.
Who?
Taylor Swift.
Yeah, I do love her music, but I think
it's pretty impressive. I mean.
Yeah. She could be a business owner. She kind of has her brand and her everything.
Oh, but
yeah,
100%. No.
I think
she's more. In a weird way, because I don't know her music that well.
Yeah.
I see her more as a businesswoman, as an entrepreneur, than a singer in a way.
Yeah.
For me, it's
I
like, okay,
think
sure, singing is like her content.
Yeah.
And it's a great way to, drive sales and do other stuff and build other thing and build an empire and so on.
Yeah.
But yeah, I see her more as an entrepreneur than just a singer in a way, for sure. Yeah. And having someone, and she plays a role in a way. She has a singing role, but then she's also building.
And
she built so many stuff and the way she thinks. Because I came across a few anecdotes in terms of actually business wise, like how she thought about doing an event, with her team, and then she came up with the idea of doing something. I don't remember what it was, but it was like, that's like next level thinking and even in terms of marketing, like, oh, we should do that because this and that, and it's quite impressive. So it's a good choice. Yeah, it's definitely a good choice. It would be fun, probably.
It'd be fun.
I don't know, she looks like fun.
No, and she's I mean, to me, she's so, I mean, I learned about her when I was 15. We're like the same age.
But she's been around.
She's been around,
no?
but she's changed so many times. She was a country singer, and then she was pop, and now she's like indie or folk. But she's always, like, to me, authentic. Her storytelling, her lyrics, you can always relate to her, but she's just like grown so many different times.
Changed. Yeah, exactly.
And that's what's so amazing, because it's still her, and it's still everything she stands for and her ideas, but she's just...
She has a book or no? She wrote a book or no?
I don't know. She has a good Americana documentary, which is cool.
Okay. On Netflix or?
Yeah, I think it's Netflix.
Okay, maybe that's something I'll watch.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Thank you very much. If people want to learn more about NU, where can they go? Where should they go?
Yeah, anjueducation.com.
anjueducation.com.
Our website, LinkedIn.
We'll put it in the show note anyway.
Perfect.
Anything else you want to share?
No, thanks for your time.
Good. Thank you very much, Erika. It was great having you, and good luck with the rest of the adventure.
Thank you.
Take care.